tell us a little bit more about your practice, your career to date, and also, is there anything that typifies an Al project?
Yeah, I mean, we started at art school using computers to make context for our performances, and we started building these elaborate, fantastical computer-generated worlds. And people started talking to us about the history of computers, and we discovered Turing being the father of the computer age. And when we started learning about his story, we realized at some point in the future we would definitely have to make a film about Alan Turing. And every year, every week, we talk about Turing in some way or other because we're kind of in love with our computers. We spend all our time, you know, programming and building these mythological worlds for our studio performances. And it just so happened that like his centenary came up, and you at the Cornerhouse decided to commission a piece of work about it, and so we just thought this is the perfect moment.
Yeah, so he's been sort of in the studio all along. I mean, you know, we've been using computers now for 15 years to make our films, and you know, as Al said, we kind of started in a fine art background, and we're making films and digital images in the gallery context, and you know, through the years that's kind of evolved into many different things. We've made work for television, under kind of more art commission basis, not necessarily commercial TV projects. And then our latest commission, even last year, was with Philip Glass for a concert hall. So it's kind of evolved quite a lot, but the thing that has been constant through it all is kind of making computer-generated films.
And I think we've also always been fascinated by technology because, you know, we come from Manchester originally, and most people who've grown up in Manchester, they're haunted by the kind of Industrial Revolution heritage and, you know, those ideas that are portrayed by Lowry in terms of like this city that's built for machines, and we're really interested in like the idea that, like, you know, technology is changing the way we live and like where we're going to evolve to. And so like we've always wanted to make films that use technology and are about technology. And you know, we've worked with the physicist Brian Greene. We're interested in like the idea of science. My granddad, you know, tried to invent perpetual motion, and he's a retired engineer. And so we've always been wanting to tell stories about, you know, humans' kind of interaction with technology and, you know, how it shapes our lives and where it's taking us.
I just want everyone to understand a little bit more about the process of making these films, because how many people did it take? Who were the cast, the crew? You know, how many hundreds of people did it take to make this film?
No, I mean, the Icarus piece we made, the Philip Glass collaboration we did a couple of years ago, that we had a team that worked on some of the CG with us on that, but very small. But this one, we just did ourselves. I mean, we kind of, over the last 15 years, we've developed quite an extensive CG production studio, and we kind of have the skills to program the CG environments. And obviously I play Alan Turing in this piece as well. I have performed in a lot of the work. I mean, more that's began in kind of more performance art, but I don't necessarily see it like that anymore. Mm-hmm. Really, or should I say, I don't really think that acting isn't performance art.
I mean, we should say that Al is the exact age of Turing when he committed suicide. And so that was kind of another element that, you know, really made us think, oh, this is the perfect moment to make it.
This piece was just two of us. It really was.
Two of you to make the whole
Yeah, it kind of. I mean, we had a team a little bit of help on some of the facts with Toby, but you know, we just sort of, we've always wanted to make this film for about, I mean, since we've really started working together, sort of 15 years ago, 12, 15 years ago, and so we kind of just dove into the studio and just immersed ourselves in this world, and it flowed very easily, actually. I mean, all the work has kind of come very easily to us, but this particular piece, you know, because we made it in 5 months as well, so a 40-minute film for two people to make it 5 months is kind of, I don't know how we did it, to be honest with you. I mean, we did another commission while we were making it as well, I don't know.
We didn't sleep.
Right, I'm hoping that we might have a couple of questions in the audience. We've got a roving mic with Rachel at the back. Does anyone have a question? If you could raise your hand.
I was just thinking, watching the film, because a lot of people, you know, the history of Alan Turing is kind of becoming more and more aware with the centenary and things like that. And
yeah.
Your creating of this film, you know, to a certain extent tells a story, And how much were you aware that you might want to make some kind of objective history, and how much were you aware that you had the opportunity to get involved in mythology and things like that, and to create something iconic? How much was there a conflict between those things?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Interestingly enough, the Turing story is evolving into a myth, and that's a fascinating area for us. Because we are myth makers rather than documentary makers, and we're interested in Turing as a myth. For example, there's a famous kind of urban myth about the Apple computer. Every Apple logo that you see on the back of an iPhone, or you see on the back of an Apple computer, you see this bitten apple, and like obviously Turing is the father of the computer age, and so it's very easy to start thinking to yourself, well, is the bitten apple the cyanide apple that Turing bit into, and are the founders of Apple referring back to the maker of the computer?
And I think it was a balance to sort of, biographically, we've been thinking and researching Turing for 15 years, so we kind of know everything there is to know about him in terms of the printed kind of research of him. And whilst we wanted to biographically stay very true to his story, we also wanted to speculate in terms of what may have been in that kind of final therapy session as well.
I very much loved the film and was particularly struck by the opening in which we learned that the thinking machines are seeking their creator. I'm wondering if you could share some more on that insight and where you wanted to take that.
Well, we imagine that the thinking machines, it could be that Turing's thinking about the machines as he's laying on his deathbed, and he's kind of contemplating and dreaming that this being that he may have created in the future would search for him as their creator. But at the same time, there's an idea in that Turing's work will hopefully lead to artificial intelligence in the future, and that if they are created, that if they inherit some of the human characteristics of ourselves, that they will search for their origins, they will search for their meaning in life, and they will search for their creator, and they will find Alan Turing as their creator, as their God in a way. As we were making the film, we realised there was a much bigger idea going on that we discovered with this. And one of the things that we thought about was that, like, if the thinking machines discover Alan Turing as their creator, what would Alan Turing say to them about that kind of role? And of course, one of the ways he would rationally respond to that is by saying that creation is an act of evolution, and that until the thinking machines create something that will evolve from them, then they too will just be one stage in the path of evolution. And I think that we may make a wider work about that.